The time now is 27 minutes to 8. University leaders have set out how they might bring students back for the turn with ideas like bubbles to keep course mates in small groups. Campuses have been closed since the start of the lockdown and a lot of teaching has moved online. But Universities UK has published guidelines on what university life could look like in the future. Our correspondent Dan Johnson reports from Loughborough.
I'm Caitlin, I'm studying biology, English and history, and I'm hoping to study English at Bristol University.
I'm Ryan, I studied A-levels in maths, chemistry and biology, and I'm hoping to go to Leicester to study physiotherapy.
I'm Molly, I do business, geography and maths, and I'm hoping to study business management at York University.
Ambitions, plans, hopes and dreams, all disorientated by coronavirus. So at Sharnwood College in Loughborough, these A-level students are trying to work out what university life will be like.
I am also nervous about the idea of losing out on the student experience a bit, because I feel like that is a big part of university. You do pay a lot of money to be there, you put in a lot of debt afterwards, and, well, the idea of going through all of that and not quite getting what you hoped for is a bit disappointing.
I did consider deferring, but for me I feel like I need to have things in place for that gap year if I wanted to go ahead with it.
If I'm not going to go to the university, is it what I really want? Because if I'm still most of the point was that I wanted to get away from home. But if I'm not going to get away from home, is there any point of paying all that money?
So,
across the road at Loughborough University,
welcome to our brand new 1.6 million unused 580-seater lecture theatre.
Wow. Health and Safety Manager Neil Budworth is showing me the future. Or is it the past?
We could probably get 50 or 60 in. The challenge is obviously making sure we get people through the door and staggering arrivals. Once we've got people in, they can spread out, but getting them in, going into those areas with limited capacity, that's the challenging bit.
Student bubbles are being considered, living and studying in the same small groups with a reshuffled timetable to stagger lessons and practical classes bunched together.
You know, we've got to make sure the campus is safe and secure.
It's a lot to balance for Chief Operating Officer Richard Taylor, who knows student life must be enjoyable too.
They're going to want to socialise, they're going to want a campus university experience, and it's our job to facilitate that in a safe and secure way for them. OK, we might not have some of the big nightclubs running and so on and so forth, but that social experience, that building friendships will be there.
So arrival at all our campuses, the students go through the airport-style scanner.
At the University of Bolton, temperature scanners, masks and gloves are a stark attempt to keep numbers up on campus.
If there's a problem with that, then obviously they'll be invited not to join the campus at that moment and have their health checked.
Vice-Chancellor George Holmes spoke to the BBC from behind a visor.
Students pay for going to university and attending, and we're going to provide them with that experience. And yeah, we were said to be out of step at the beginning of the sector, but there's a number now following us in the sector. Student experience is number one for us, and this is going to be the best student experience in a COVID-secure environment.
Others are focused on new ways of teaching. Julia Buckingham is Vice-Chancellor at Brunel and speaks on behalf of all British universities.
There are some wonderful examples of digital education now, really exciting. Techniques like virtual reality. So I do see this as a really exciting opportunity. If I'm honest, it's something I've been wanting to do for a long time. And I think our students actually will embrace it.
Will it be effective? Will it be fun? There's lots of detail to add, and the university's challenge is to convince students socially distanced learning will be worthwhile.
Dan Johnson reporting. Well, we can hear now from Sir David Bell, Vice-Chancellor and Chief Executive of the University of Sunderland. Good morning.
Good morning.
Student experience just isn't going to be the same, is it?
Well, I think it's going to be different, certainly in the early months, if the current guidelines still pertain. But we know from our application numbers and from the continuing interest being shown in university by students that I think they still want to come and undertake their higher education with us.
You say different. A lot of students might say worse. And why should they be paying the same level of fees when they're not going to be enjoying the same kind of experience as their predecessors have?
Well, clearly that's a decision that individual students will take. But I think it is still the case that across universities, there is a lot of interest still amongst prospective students. We are open for business in the autumn. That's a clear and consistent message from universities. We believe that face-to-face engagement is central to learning and teaching, but of course we're also going to be balancing that up with the use of online activities as well.
But if students aren't getting full face-to-face teaching, should they be having to pay the full amount of fees?
Well, it's been made clear, I think, by both the government and the regulator that we need to be clear about the experience, as best as we can, that students will receive in the autumn, and we're all trying to do that at the moment. But I think it's also true to say that you can still have a rich and engaged student experience and academic experience coming to university, even though that we're going to be operating under slightly different circumstances to those that have gone by. So I think it is still very good value and a great choice for students to choose to come to university.
And in terms of how safe they're going to be, do you support this idea of protective bubbles?
Well, the idea of protective bubbles might work in certain circumstances, but many universities, our own included, have a very high percentage of commuter students. In other words, students who live at home and travel into university on a day-to-day basis. So that, in that sense, the protective bubble may not work. However, there can also be a whole range of other measures and mechanisms in place to keep students safe. And I know that every university across the country will do all in its power to keep its students safe, even though we might do it slightly differently place to place.
Sir David Bell from University of Sunderland, thank you.